Hello there and welcome to my Arty Corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter. I'm an artist as well as a scientist, and I taught science for 28 years with some art as well. I taught some art alongside it, and helping others to become more confident with their art, gaining new skills, how to look at things, how to work out what you're seeing and how to draw it. It's about looking at the shapes and the parts and so on. And of course, sometimes I get challenged to deconstruct things and work out how things go. So thank you to Mr. Chen Keith, who's one of the subscribers here on YouTube. He asked me to have a look at a couple of artworks done by another artist whose name I can't remember, but I'll put a link to them. They're on Instagram. I'll put that in the description box of the video so you can take a look at their work. And I apologise, I can't remember their name. I forgot to write it down. And these are the two. One that I've taken the inspiration from. This is my interpretation of. It may not be exactly the same and there may not be quite as many layers in it, but it does get complicated and you can see the overlapping and underlapping and weaving through of various elements in places. So this one is a bit more on the geometrical side with the way that things are broken up into sections. It's all about working in sections and it's working in layers. And sections in a layer, then looking what you can take from one layer to another. It's easier to show than to explain, honestly. I found that when I looked at it, I thought, oh no, how am I going to do this? Right, let's start with the top layer. You start with the top layer and you work your way down. That's how it will work in this instance. The other one, just to change tack, is a lot curvier, suits my aesthetics more. I'm not going to say either of these are something I'm going to do very often, if at all, ever again. I can see the value in them, I can see how they would appeal to people, but I'm more botanical and flowy and organic, but I'll always be prepared to give things a go because you just never know. Some surprising things here. This is Indirella, which is a Zentangle pattern that I don't use often, but when I do, it's really lovely. And I thought it'd be quite fun to have this almost looking like a window into the ocean or into a pond where you can see fish swimming by, because that's what Indirella looks like, a fish. I've used Tripoli in a different ways in here. I've grown to love Tripoli. Oh, and this one here, where I've not added any colour or anything yet. I've grown to love it because I've finally worked out how I can draw it in a way that makes sense in my brain. There's one of my favourite patterns that pierces well, but I haven't drawn a square grid as such. I've created it as a channel and it's reflecting the patterns as well. I may show you that in the drawing. I've got some things that are a bit like Arukas. This is a very organised diva dance, I suppose. This one is Doodah, I think. Don't think it's Zip. It's one or the other. I've got things like this. This one is, what do you call it? Senna. There's some print on. And lots of other things. Spirals that look a bit like, there's some here that definitely look like Muka. These ones are a bit more shell-like, but still drawn in a very similar kind of way. I've got my lovely arches in both areas. I've even got a Gothic-y window in there with a lovely arch around it. Inspiration taken from Gothic and Romanesque architecture because that floats around my head, like this one and this one here and various others. And this one here is so Romanesque. This arch up here. This pattern not so much, but round here very, very much, as is this one. We've got some Knightsbridge, what's this one? Jonquil, and so on. Ooh, that pattern appears again because the patterns do chase round and go through various areas. If you have a look here, it's like these are very far away and suddenly they're that much closer. It's almost like, whoops, we've gone up a big step here underneath, which is quite fun. And I will add more shadow to this and try to give that illusion a greater thing. I haven't finished adding colour to this. I'm using chalk pastels to do that. And me and colour, we're not always on the best of friends, but I'm keeping it simple. I'm keeping it to a soft blue, soft pink and sort of mossy greens. Oh, and I'm using a grey as well there. and I will bring some highlights back into that at the end with a white charcoal pencil. So this one, all kinds of things. I think this one, now I look at it, reminds me of Circus, which is a Zentangle pattern. There's Quib here. There's Perk everywhere. There's some Betweed there. This is a random version of Hollybow, I suppose. There's another one of these that's a bit like Circus. Instead of Knightsbridge, I put floors there. And this is triangles again, but instead of going zigzagging this way, I've got them almost like arrowheads. There's a version of well here. There's some more Tripoli. There's this fragment. It's a very warped fragment, but it's one of the square fragments. I know this one's very sort of Romanesque-y, but with an angular twist. And so this was a lot of fun for me to do, using patterns in a way that I don't often use them these days. So thanks for the challenge, Mr. Chen Keith. I hope you like these ones. And yes, I am going to walk you through how to draw these. Very long introduction, but I just wanted to give you a good chance to have a good look at them as well. And of course you can pause the video and that'll be zippity-doo-dah. Totally dandy and wonderful. So just to say thank you to everybody who subscribed. I appreciate you all so much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button. It doesn't cost you a thing. It doesn't mean you're going to ever be asked to pay. Not a chance. Not when it comes to subscribing. And if you can hit the thumbs up button if you enjoy the video. And consider hitting the bell button for notifications, because then you'll get to know when I release videos in the coming month or so. It could be a bit random as I've got a book to do. I've left it late again. So paying gigs are important because that's what pays the bills, ish, tops up the bill, you know, and you know, make sure that I can continue to do things like this. So I'm just going to whip this out of your site, but I'm going to keep it in my view. I'm going to bring in some paper here that I've got, and I have got some pieces of, this is all toned paper. This is a piece of, I trimmed my fingernails this week because they were annoying me, so now I can't move anything around. Clairefontaine paint on paper. This is grey-green. These ones, you can tell the difference in colour. They're more of a mossy colour. And yes, it's a bit battered and bent, but I'd still use it. And that one is the clay version. I haven't got any of the blue at the moment. But I think I'm going to start with a big one. And what I might do is end up sort of like doing half in the more rigid kind of way and half in the more... oh gosh, it does help if I actually turn this on and put some lead out. There is a bird in a tree out the back, and it is singing its absolute heart out this morning, and it's so glorious. We've got sunshine as well as cloud. It just didn't stop raining yesterday, and it was really, really rainy. And today being Saturday the 1st of October. And it's just so lovely to hear. And I'm hoping that I'll get out for a walk this afternoon. I won't be going out in the middle of the day because the sun's too bright for my skin. But that'll mean I can go out while the video's uploading and processing. It's taking forever these days. So I'm going to start by drawing just a rough idea with some with pencil lines, just where I want my first, perhaps, section grid to be. So I'm going to draw this. It's kind of a T shape, and I'll see where I go with it. Now I've got a 03 Unipin pen here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to draw outlines like this. So these will become the beams that kind of sit over the main pattern, and I'm just going to draw them down roughly here, but at the end of it all, everything is just going to slot together as it will. I'm not going to try and draw the whole grid out because I may want something going over the top of this here as well as bits going under. So in the centre of this, I'll use my O1, because I've got an O1 out, because it's a finer line and it's more likely to break up randomly on this paper than the O3, because this pen's a bit old now, or a bit wrecked. So that's the start of one of my little areas that I'm going to start drawing some patterns in. So I'm just going to add a bit of rounding in the corners, both on the outer edge and on this little bit here. It makes them feel like you've got things that are joined together in some way, or some kind of connection. Okay, now then, I love things like arches, so I'm going to start by drawing. I could do an arch that goes like that, or I could do one that goes like this. I think we'll do one that goes like this. I am going to turn my paper and I'm going to retrace my line and carry on down here. So I've got a nice rounded arch, and I am going to double this up. I'm going to put an aura on the inside, and I am going to turn my paper. I'll try not to do it too often because I don't want you to be too dizzy. But then I want to add another aura, and with this one I want it a little bit wider. Well, it's actually quite a lot wider here, but I don't want this to follow the line of this too much. Made a little bit of a mess there, but we'll disguise that. That'll disappear when I fill in this particular channel with some patterns. I am drawing this quite big. This may not be your kind of thing. You might like to draw things a lot smaller. But I'm doing this on the camera for you. I don't think I've autofocused actually. That's better, because I knew that I was going to move my A4 sketchbook out the way, which is quite chunky. And put something flatter on. So let's do that. So as I move my hand and everything around, it's not going to go in and out of focus. My apologies for not doing that sooner. There we go. So we've got that going on. And on the ends, this is my kind of thing to do. I like to create little rounded ends to these, so they feel that they're meant to be cut short. You can just draw a straight, a box here. You can draw your shape freehand, whatever you wish to do. It is your artwork. So I'm showing you what I like to do, but it doesn't mean you have to do it. It means you can give it a go. But if you don't like it, that's fine. But I am going to put straight sections here. And I'm going to leave the one inside for a moment. Okay. Right, I'm going to add into this arch that lovely pattern that I love, which is a well variation. And I'm going to put some circles sort of along the middle of this arch, about equidistant and about the same size, though as you can see they are varying, and that's fine because I'm not a robot. Right, the next one would be under here, so I need to go about the same distance on this side as there would be from there. And that wasn't deliberate, that's just how it worked out. And this one isn't quite going to the end, which is fine. Now the way I do this is I'm going to join two side by side with a smiley face like that. Then this one and this one I'm going to join with an upside down smiley face, because it's got to be upside down. Here's where the dot would be, so really we're looking at that going there. It's going up there, so this one means that this one would be an upwardly turning one. Smiley, upside down smiley, smiley, upside down smiley, smiley. And can you see I'm going from the outer edge of these shapes to join them together, not from the middle but from the outside edges, and it's the opposite way round. You can see that actually makes quite an interesting pattern in its own. And this one here on the end, this little one here on the end, will just go up. That looks a bit odd here, but it'll be fine once we fill in between, because in between I'm going to work out where the midpoint is here, put a little dot there, and then I'm going to draw a V shape in, so I'm completing well. But because I haven't got the vertical lines, or the horizontal vertical lines, the box shapes in, then I find it easier to do it like this. So up here is going to be about the middle of this one, and as soon as I put that in, suddenly it makes sense. This one, I think there will do for the middle. Up, down, down, up, up, down, up, down. Talking about my pen strokes here. Right, left. Whatever way is the most comfortable for you to do this. I like to use my pens so that I can see where they're going to be going, so I move them in that direction rather than covering things up. So I've got this lovely pattern here. It's very early Celtic, Latene culture, and so on, really prehistoric almost. And it's one of my favourite ones, but you also do find it in medieval manuscripts as well. It's lovely. It's almost like you've got these shapes that are a bit like horseshoe crabs, or very narrow-bottomed ginkgo leaves, and so on. I do like it. So that's my first one. Now I could put some detail in this, but I'm going to leave it as it is, because my focus today is to get things that are overlapping. And I'm going to start by adding another aura here and here. Might do it on this one as well, actually, because that would make a bit of sense, wouldn't it? Do I need to do it on this one? Most probably not, because, you know, we can make this any way we like. So I'm already getting that feeling that this is actually going in between some layers of this. Actually, it would make sense if I did do an auras on these sides as well, on this part. Then it's consistent across, and that helps with that illusion of that weaving through, as it were. So I'm just rounding corners and so on, and making sure that things link together. So I've got choices now what I do. And one of them is that I could just fill these sections in with patterns. I'm going to finish that off there for a moment. Or I could have more things that weave through in some kind of way. And I think to do that, I'm going to draw on here something that looks like a little cutout. I'm going to worry about doing things like line weight at a later time. But what I am going to do here is I'm going to create almost like there's a border here that goes into some sections like that. I don't know which way is up and down of this. It really doesn't matter. It's only once I start adding weight, line weight, will that come into play really. So it's just about drawing the shapes. I haven't quite got it quite right. They haven't quite met up, but it'll be fine because that illusion is there, and it depends what we do with the rest of the space. But I think what I might like to do, because that one does seem to be fitting that one. So if I put another one there and there, and let me have a look. So we want one here that goes under there. So I'll want another one there, which connects there. and then I can add a third one in, like so, and that connects there. So that's actually better. If things don't work out, just try and think logically how you can fix it. It's not so easy. Alternatively, you can use a magic pencil to draw the lines in, because you can then draw over the top of everything and just try and focus on where you want to put them. In some ways, it's wise to use a pencil for this, because you can get a lot more layering than you can with just using pen. Pen requires a lot more thought and planning, and it's not something I'm very good at because I'm a very intuitive artist. I just sit down and I work. I think about what I'm doing, but I don't plan it out fully in my head first. So this leaves options for other things as well. So I do want to add some interest in here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pop in here, because I can't help but put something that's spirally in and rounded. So this is a variation of Muka, as you know. So I'm going to pop that in so it actually grows underneath this. So again, I'm adding that extra bit of volume or dimension here. I'm adding a kind of bead in here. It's not rounded, it's more triangular shape, but that'll be fine. A little bit of weight there. And then I could put another one in here, or I could come back. I think I'll do another one in this way, as I make a complete mess of that. And of course the sun has just gone in, which is typical. So there's my little spirally bit. There's my Muka. And then I'm going to take this Muka stem and I'm going to have it going under and behind this here. So I think I've decided that this is going to have some weight on it here. That area is just too little to put anything in, so I'm just going to fill it with black. Add a little bit of line weight there. Let's add some line weight in the corners where these connect. And then I could potentially get another one in here somewhere. It's working out how to do that. I don't think I'm going to. I don't think I can fit it in comfortably, to be honest. So I'm not going to. So I'll fill this area and this one with some pattern. And to do that, I'm going to use the finer pen for some variation. And here, I think I'm going to pop in just some Knightsbridge, which will actually go through that part as well. I say Knightsbridge, I'm likely to do floors, because I think I'm getting to the point where this is getting quite intense in pattern and so on. I think there comes a point where you have to say enough of the pattern. Let's just see what happens. So floors has these little darker bits where the lines join. You might have to work out where they are when they're behind and pop part of that in. Okay, so I think there'd be one there, perhaps one there, definitely one there. Just fill that gap in. So I've got this going on. Actually, I think that would be one. So I've got that going on behind all of everything else. So already we're getting into these layers. Now, if I'd left a bigger area here, I could have put a hole in the middle, which I think I might do here. So let's have a look at creating some kind of hole. And I think I might just be able to squeeze an aura in here and still have space to pop a pattern around it. I'm using crescent moon to hold this inner space in place. Oh, look at that, rhyming. Unintentional, I assure you. Hold the space in place. And then to make sure that these appear as something else, I'm going to create them as crescent moons, but I'm not going to be as finicky about how many auras I have before I get to the darker region, because in some I might be lucky just to get a darker area in, like here and here. But even on the few that there is, that looks fun. And then in the middle I'll use my finer pen, and I'm going to just fill this with little stipples. And perhaps I'll make those closer together right up next to that line. So we've got this going on. Okay. Right, next thing. I am going to create these as like this. It is wider than this in here, but I'm fine with that because it will look like it's lifted up in some way. I made a bit of a mess here, so I'll just go and tidy that up. Now then, this space here, what can we do? On this edge, I don't want to do anything that is going to be overlapping. This is a very small space. So I'm going to fill it with very tall, thin, I don't know, upside down U-shapes, ends, tall, thin arches. And I'm just going to use my finer pen. I ought to leave the lids off these while I'm working. It's habit just to recap them though, because with some pens you can't leave them uncapped. I think these ones you can for a little while, they'll be fine. And just put some lines in them just to add that kind of feeling that there's almost like a fold in the middle. Okay. And here, I think I might pop another aura and border around this one. It's not going to come out there, it's going to come out around here, so I want them about the same thickness. It's not essentially, it has to be exactly the same. This one is a noticeably wider, so I'll put the aura on the side that will narrow this band a little bit. Just like that. So again, I'm going to round the edges or give some line weighting, a little bit of thickness at the end of the lines where they join. And in this section, I can put whatever I like in, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm quite simply going to fill them with overlapping beads. In Romanesque architecture, they'd actually be individual and single, with a little bit of a gap between them, or touching, but distinctive from each other as well. But I quite like them when they overlap. I like the feeling that they are sort of like all squished in behind each other. And you could do this in a sort of regular pattern if you like, is put all the ones on the top first and have them tucked in behind in a pattern, but my head just can't get around that even, you know, this morning. Didn't have much of a sleep last night. I woke up at about 2 o'clock after 3-4 hours sleep with an upset stomach. I wasn't right all day yesterday, so I don't know what I'd either eaten or if I'd picked something up a couple of days ago when I was out for lunch. But I wasn't very well feeling, and I'm still not right now. Feeling better, don't get me wrong, than I was in the middle of the night. But I eventually got back to sleep about 6 o'clock in the morning and woke up about 8. Thirsty and needing to get up. So I thought, okay, then we'll do that. So here's the rest of the perks. So I'm just going to have one that seems to be behind this T-bar here, which seems to work quite nicely. And again, it's got that feeling of overlapping. I won't try and squash another one in the end, I'll just fill it with black. So you can see where the one is that sticks up higher and the others all just fall away. So even if I'd made this thicker, it would have naturally looked like this one is going into the distance. Okay, so I'm just going to check, should this come around? Yes, it should. So I do need some things in the channel here. So I'm just going to put the top of one in there. Oh, it actually doesn't quite fit, does it? I haven't missed, haven't I? It'll be fine. Yes, perhaps I can just pop another one on there. And then fill that in and we'll have another one on this side. And that then is consistent from side to side. So we've got this going on here. Okay, so now I do want to do something that will either have a line going from this, perhaps. Let's have it going in this direction. And perhaps here, just to define some space. And that one does get wider towards the end, and I'm going to do the same there. And I'm going to have one there and one here. I'm going to round these corners and these ones. This sun is annoying. It's lovely, but it's annoying. So that going that way. This one going that way. I've got one there that's a bit wider or longer than my pencil line, but that's okay, I can live with that. So we'll just finish those off. Add that little bit of rounding in the corner there, a little bit of ink and weight. Works nicely to emphasise that bend. Just a little bit more there. And I think we may have, I'm going to use that idea again that I like, of a circle. And this time I am going to draw a line in where I want it to go. There we go. If it gets a little bit wider towards the edge, I'm not worried. I'm going to do another one. And another. Sometimes that pencil line just helps you to keep things going in the same kind of direction. It doesn't have to be perfect, as I keep saying, because this will be an overall pattern. I don't know if I'm going to get any of the swirly ones done today, you know. But we'll see. I'm not going to finish one. But hopefully I'll give you enough of an idea as to what to do next. Okay, so I would like something that perhaps this can come here. There we go. We've got a spirally one going on here now. Like so. And I'm going to take this back over like that. And that I think will be fine. here will also be fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some extra auras here that will cause this to become quite bulbous, and perhaps I'll move them down towards the stem like this. What's that Zentangle pattern? Is it Zinger or Sprinkles? A bit like that. But then that also then gives me this opportunity here to take that end, as if there's a little bit there, and just curl it round a little bit as well, as if it's really narrowed up to nothing very much, which is quite fun. But I can also decide to add a few more of those in a different direction, and I'm going to add a little spiral there to create another layer, and another one of these perhaps. This one's getting bigger though. Instead of smaller, it's going to end up practically filling this space because it can. I've got up to this edge here, and I think I might leave it just like that, and well, perhaps not, perhaps I will just go and carry on filling these sections in, and then that will look like that's going underneath an edge there. So that's something that's unusual. And we've got a small spiral that's at the top here, and this one, we've got the big spiral at the top, so they've sort of like swapped over. Shading will help to bring that out hugely. And here I'm going to pop a little arch here, a little space in the middle, and I am going to add another layer just behind that, in that kind of way. So that's a bit fun. And then if I take this line here, I can draw that in there. I'm going to start with a dot here and draw this central line in and end with a dot there, so it looks almost like there's a slit in it. Okay, this one, which goes with this, I am going to add an aura to it. There's a reason for this, because I want to add some texture to this. So I've added 5 lines, which makes 4 spaces. So 6 lines will make 5 spaces, and I'm going to add some black and white shapes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and again black and not black, because it's not white, is it? But you know what I mean. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can draw the boxes in one at a time if you like, but I like to do it like this. There's going to be some behind here, but I think I may start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to have a part 1 here. And then, oh, I've done too many. That's okay. The stem's got bigger, so it's okay to add a few, I think. Actually, why don't I do that all the way along? Because that now would make a bit more sense to do that. They're not equal distant or equal sized. I'm not trying to make them that way. They'll be what they need to be just to fill the gaps in. And at the end here, I'm going to put a couple of circles in as if they're blocking that stripiness. And I'm going to put a couple of circles in here. And perhaps just a couple over here, as if to say, okay, we've got some patterns going on here as well. So that's quite fun. Not going to do that with this one though, it's a little bit on the small side. And I am going to add some line weight here though, just to help to lift that one up. And perhaps on this one as well. Just to add line weight to the main part of the spiral. I think I've decided this is up. There we go. And perhaps some of these I can fill in black just to bring out that kind of pattern that we've got going on here. Now that black line there joined up with that black square, but it sort of like almost bends back up on itself, so it kind of accentuates the way that the shape changes as well. So, but I am going to make that line just that bit thicker. So that's quite fun. And I could put another one in there. Actually, this one, I think. And though I haven't left a gap for any white highlights, that's the magic of a gel pen or a white souffle or a white glaze. Or a Posca pen or any other white, opaque white pen or ink would work nicely there. So that's fun. Okay. I do want to put some indirellas in, so let's have a look at what way we can have our indirellas going. I think I might have them going upwards, well, from this section across to this one. So I'm going to start here with my first one. So start with a dot where the head or the eye is, and you draw a little semicircle around it. Then you draw another arc around it. They're not really semicircles because that implies that it's a half a circle. So I'm going all the way down and at the top, and then I've got to kind of imagine that I'm going to go down and start to get lines that will start getting a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller to make it that kind of fish shape. Except I haven't done a very good job of it, but it's fine because I can always go back and add in. So I'll do one here so you can see it in its all. So the dot for the head or the eye, and then we just go around this until you think you've got enough of these or it's long enough, and then you just start to gradually make them smaller and smaller and smaller till you get a little tail. They do look like nice fat fish from above. So again here I'm going to pop a little eye shape there. I'm just going to fit this in. And their shape and size may vary a little bit, and I'm fine with that. And I like to put a little curve in the tail if I can. So I can pop one here. They don't have to be regularly arranged, as it were. Sometimes they can be closer together, sometimes you can have gaps between them, that's fine. And that one's tail is going under the end of this here. Okay, so let's have another one here. It looks like they're going to get bigger the further through here they go. An ish fish. So let's have a look at making this one nice and plumptious like this one here perhaps. This is going to be hidden underneath this section here, which is fine. Okay, add one more here. That one's got a long, thin, wavy tail. In fact, I might just adjust that just a little bit. That makes it look neater. And then perhaps we'll have just a little one here, just making its way out. You can make them different sizes, and I'll add another little one here, We can pop another one in here. If the lines go underneath a section, that's fine. Behind that fish there it will, and here there'll be another. And perhaps here I'll add another. Come on, Angela, get your grip together. There we go. And then that way we've got fish. Well, it could be fish. They actually look like weird sea pods or things floating in the sky, alien things. Actually, I think I could do with one perhaps here. Of course, this is always another way to draw them if you prefer to draw them this way. The idea is the same of how you start. So they're quite fun. And they really do make this lift above them. Over here, I've got this lovely triangular shape. And I can't resist splitting it up into 3 smaller triangles. So I'm imagining where, I've decided that's where the centre of these is going to be. It's not exactly the centre, but it'll do. So I've got 3 shapes here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just having a quick look at the ones I did, which I really liked, is I'm going to split these. So I'm going to go from the centre about halfway down to the line. I'm going to split them like this. Again, up, down, down, up, down. And then in each of these sections, pointing towards the centre, I put a Y shape in there to split each of the big ones into little smaller triangles. So I'm just going to put almost like a little teardrop at the centre there. And I will need some help here, I think, in sorting this out, but I think I'll do that when it comes to shading and so on. Can't work out what I've done there. I've ended up with something really interesting though. Perhaps I'll just thicken these points where these lines join and thicken the lines. That might help a little bit with the structure, or not. I think it makes it just as confusing, but we've got an interesting thing going on there. Okay, so how are we doing here? Okay. All right. So here I'm going to add a boxy kind of shape that weaves under. And I'm going to put a little box in like that. And then I'm going to add some bits that weave through that on either side. There. And I'm going to add another one inside the box like that. And I could put another one of these on either side, but I don't think I'm going to. On this side, I'm just going to fill it with little orbs in a row, little circles in a row. And on this side, I'll do something completely different. I'm going to take a fragment. So I'm going to draw a curved line from corner to corner. Doesn't matter which way you bend it, it's your choice. I'm just doing it this way. And then on the top of this, I'm going to add echo lines. I'm auraing it, so I echo the shape constantly, but I'm putting a little gap in the middle, and I am going to pop an extra bit of weight there. Then on this side, I'm going to aura this couple of times, and then in this section I'm just going to fill it in with black. So we're getting a fragment in there to fill that space, and I really do quite like that. And what I'm going to do as well is I think I'm going to put a wider border around this. I'm going to add a second one, and am I going to do the same on this side? I am, but I'm not going to have it coming back up. I'm going to have it stop here. And in this section I'm going to put in a series of triangles, which are awkward to get around the corner, but you do it however you can. Sometimes it's better to start at the corner, deciding how you're going to put the triangle in, and work from there outwards, but that'll work. And in fact, I most probably could get a triangle in there, and then I can do something else with this section, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, with this triangle, I'm going to draw smaller triangles inside the bigger ones in this border, like so. So here it would go up there. And then on the other side, I'm going to aura the outside of this box. So we've got lines that are tucking under these top downward pointing triangles, as it were. It depends which way you're looking at it. But what I'm doing here, instead of leaving the triangle open in the middle, I'm just filling it in with black. And then I'm going to go back to these, and I'm going to put a black triangle at the bottom, like so. So we've got that going on. So that's similar to one of the other kinds of Romanesque. It's quite fun because it looks like these triangles are higher than the ones underneath, and we can actually increase that illusion just by adding some weight to these lines, like so. So it's left and bottom again. This one, I think we'd get a little bit on each side. And this one, we're not going to see anything. And then here, with this one, I think I'm going to launch an aura from there. And another one from there. So these ones are coming out from this broken repeats, I suppose, around here. So I've got something different going on there. Not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. What I may just do is just put some black circles on the line, like so. And then I've got a teeny tiny section here, which I'm just going to close off. And perhaps just pop a little black triangle, because it's a triangular section. Okay. Okie dokes. Next job. I'm having a look at the time. Oh, it's nearly an hour. So if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. There's no way I'm going to finish this in one session, but I will start putting some of the next part of this grid in, just to get things interesting. It's kind of like working with hollybough, but at the same time not quite like working with it. It's a lot more structured than... So here I'm putting in this here, and I will continue with the black I think I'd fill that one in black there just to help to separate that. These black and white stripes in this section. I want a thicker pen to do that with though, because this has got bigger now, which is what it would do. Now if I'd been clever, I would have put a pencil line, or penciled in another one of these that goes above, and have this, oh actually not above, yeah, I want something that this goes over, because it's going underneath an awful lot. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a circle, again like a circular cutout, a little. So these will be little windows perhaps eventually, and I am just going to draw my line in so I know where I'm heading towards, and then I can have this one going underneath this one, this line. So we've got it going under, over. So it is weaving up and through. So that would make some nice sense. And this one, I'm going to make this one a little bit wider here so that I can put a pattern in there. Again, if I was clever, I could have put a line from this one going out, but we could have that happening elsewhere, so that I could have, I do like devices like this, suggesting that there's almost like pieces of metal or pieces of stone that have come together in a very sculptured or patterned way. So there's almost like there's a window there that we can see through, which actually is a fun idea. So fun, I've popped it in twice. And a third time, I think. They're all slightly different and I'm fine with that. Again, it's all hand drawn. If you want to get fussy about it, that's your prerogative to do as you wish. Now I could actually carry that on up here, but I think I'm going to start, it wouldn't be quite as obvious what they belong to. So I just think it might be nice to perhaps add an extra bit of aura here, perhaps going up there, perhaps coming down here, perhaps coming down here. It's that way then, that accents this under, this going under and through and so on. So it's playing around with the idea of space and what is happening, what is going on here. And I'm going to actually do the same here, I think. But I'm going to have another aura around here. And perhaps another thin one, because then that would suggest that I'm going to put a pattern in that wider one next door. Of course, I could easily split this up, so I've got two fine ones there. But I think I don't know, I think actually putting another one behind this is a nice idea. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Like so. So that really gives that feeling of we've got things poking through and doing all kinds of weird things, which is fun. It is fun, I'm telling you. It's intriguing. But as I say, it's not my kind of thing that I would do, you know, if I hadn't been challenged. It's not something I would really think of, although I do interweave from time to time in my art, but not so deliberately. And then, of course, we've got other sections we can do things with. So I'm going to just draw an arc there. That one would go behind that, but I'm going to add that there. And then here, underneath, I'm going to add a fine one. What I'm doing here and now is I'm focusing on splitting these sections up and getting some of this weaving going on. And of course, I really would love to have some of this weave behind this, I think. I think that's more or less about the same distance. So we've got this going on. So it reminds me a bit, if you're familiar with the Zentangle pattern holly bow, then it's a bit like that, but it's a lot more thoughtful and on a bigger scale with bigger gaps and doing different things in the spaces. It does take a little while to get your head round it, but it is literally working one section at a time. And here I'm adding auras to this section here. Add another ones there. So that is when I choose to colour this in or whatever, I will be making these similar so it looks like they are below the top, you know, they're below this, but they're connected with this layer at the top as well. So I'll be thinking about how I use colours to help to connect one area to another, as it were, or connect one section to another to bring out that idea of interweaving, overlaying. And of course I can add this. I have got enough space to just pop that one in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm also going to colour that black there. So we've got black on either side of this strong line here. I'm not going to colour this in black, not by any long shot. But I'm not going to have this coming out the other side. I'm going to, what shall I? I might, just for fun. In fact, I'm going to colour this one in black, because that helps to bring out that arc shape along here, doesn't it? There we are. That makes sense. Okie dokes. Now then, I would love to have, and I'm going to, this is going to be fun. I'm going to add another mookerish thing. Now this one is going to go differently here. That'll be fine. And I can weave that underneath there, which I think will be fun. This is reminding me of something, some work I did when I was looking at Charles Rennie Mackintosh, I think, or Kandinsky, or perhaps both of them. Not so much Kandinsky, I think it's the way that things weave in and out in Glasgow School, perhaps some Art Nouveau, I can't remember. But it reminds me of something like that, where you have sections that weave in and out. So that is quite fun. And what would be fun as well would be to have let me have that one coming up. Like this. And I'm going to have this going down like so. we've got those overlapping, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create another border, as it were, here on this, and I'm going to do the same here, so we have more of this weaving under and over. I've just spotted how I can perhaps add another section here to kind of enhance that idea here. Not going to get much in there, but not quite. There we go, we've got some going on there, perhaps a little bit there. So that's all fun, and you've got that lovely weaving kind of feeling going on here. Dare I put another one in? I think so, but I think this one might need to go first. Yes, it does. I could have this going out into here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to behave myself. This one will go there like that. And that then is rather fun. I don't know if you caught all of that. I don't know if I can explain it in words. But it's like circus or anything where you're weaving back and forth, or a knottish. But it's not quite. Here I'm going to pop a little triangle or aura at the top. This one, I'm not sure what I want to do with this section. It's an unusual shape. Part of me thinks I quite like this shape, and I may just create a little section like this that has an edge on it, and I'll do a bit of that thing they call coffering in Zentangle, where you join the corners to other corners, and it kind of creates this feeling of having, oh, what do you call it? Like a slope, almost. It's like a frame. But I am going to put a very fine border inside, because that will then give me options as to what I do there. This one, I am going to add a border here, but I'm going to do it in an unusual way, where I'm adding like a triangle there that goes in, not triangle, a rectangle that goes underneath this. So it's that sense of weaving again, and I'm going to weave behind this one. Perhaps add another one. And then weave behind both of them. So both are sort of like tucked in behind a band to hold them in place. Which is quite fun. This area here, this one, I'm just going to close them off. I'm looking to see if I can fit in any other kinds of woven sections, and of course, yes, I can, is the answer. So I've put half of a pointy arch in there, and I most probably could get another repeat just in here. So I've got this happening and going on, and the fun thing I'm going to do here is I am going to put a window almost in here. See what I mean? I'm cutting out a section. This will be a cutout, kind of. I'm not doing a very good job of the aura here, but you'll get the idea. And then what I want to do is I want to join these lines here in this cutout. like so. So that will go. I've done a very good job there. But we'll get the idea, I think, of this. If I thought about this first, I could have had this. Actually, can I have this weaving? I can have this weaving through this outer border there as well. So it goes behind this. Then we can see it through here and then behind and out again. So quite ornate, complicated weaving in and out. And I could have made it more so if I'd drawn all of this in pencil first, or drawn sections in pencil, then ink them in to get the in and out. To do it straight in ink, you have to think a lot in advance, and it's not always that easy to do. As you can see, I'm thinking on the fly, thinking I wish I'd done this in pencil. And then inked, which is always an option. This is Zentangle inspired. It's not strictly Zentangle because I'm drawing it. And but it's fun to play with those layers. So, and here I'm going to add another one of these in, like so, and it's going to go in here and over here. It's getting narrower, that's fine, I can live with that. Here I've overshot, so I'm going to make a feature of it. I'm going to put a dot on the end, as if to say, right, we've stopped there now, we're not going any further. And with these, I'm going to also have these ones going through that section, but not through this section over here. I'm going to have it behind again. So we could have it going through there. So we've got it weaving through in a weird way, or behind and through. And I'm fine with that because that'll be fun to bring out with pattern or colour, or both. If you notice, I'm focusing now on getting the sections in rather than trying to fill everything in as I go. I just wanted, there's just odd bits I wanted to do, bits and pieces in, like this Indiarella up here. Just fill that in. And the corner as well, because that will go behind that. And this is all wibbly and wobbly, but I'm going to call this done for this video. I'm not going to do any more work on this because I'm going to ask you, if you've got this far, and I'll ask it in the comments as well, do you want to see me in another video add pattern and so on to this and then shadow in a third? It's going to be a long drawn out process if I do that. Or have you had enough of this? I know what my answer is. Part of me's had enough and part of me thinks, I want to see where this goes, because you get to a point and you think this isn't finished, but I'd like to see it finished. And even if it's done just with black and white ink and black ink and nothing else, it'd be fun to see. Though I am tempted to get some coloured pens out and use those to add some textures and patterns to different sections. I think I'll keep this one green, to shades of green, mossy greens if I can find them, or this bluey green, grey, oh yellowy greeny colour, grey green. See, can't talk. Right, I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to say thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's a bit of an odd one. I'm learning as I go, or remembering things I've done in the past as I go. And I hope you'll give it a go, as complicated as it is. Yes, it's not as complicated as it looks. It's working in those layers. It's starting up with what you want on the top, working in sections, seeing how you can fit other layers in, then moving on to other sections. And I find it helpful if you don't finish a section, because then you'll think, I wish I'd left some space for this. Don't leave some space. You can always go back and add more. When you're working in ink, you can't take it away. Not unless you colour it all in with black and then draw on the top with white, which is always a possibility. But anyway, I'm going to leave it here because I'm prattling on. Look after yourselves. Take care. and above all else, find time to be creative. Ta-ta for now. Bye. Ta-ra. Oil.